The Philippines files a fresh diplomatic protest as Chinese ships continue to flock to the West Philippine Sea. China is believed to be using a so-called cabbage strategy. What exactly is this, and what can we do about it? Given these developments, experts weigh in. Is China really our friend? Meanwhile, here in the metro, COVID-19 fatality rate is now 3 times higher since February. And listen up, 90s kids, the stars of the hit sitcom Friends have just wrapped up the taping for the reunion special. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. We begin today's newscast with the Foreign Affairs Department filing 2 diplomatic protests against China over the lingering presence of Chinese militia vessels in the West Philippine Sea. For its part, the armed forces is building up its Navy patrols with the deployment of more ships. Patricia Mangune with the story.
Recent satellite images show that the Philippines is weak in defending its own territorial waters. If Vietnam has 29 outposts, the Philippines only has 11 to keep an eye on its exclusive economic zone.
We've seen how much weaker the Philippines is in protecting their territory compared to the other claimants. If this weakness continues, we will surely see more features being occupied by foreign countries.
But the Philippines is beefing up its presence in the contested waters. AFP Chief of Staff Cirilito Sobejana has ordered the deployment of 3 additional Navy ships to the West Philippine Sea. Currently, the country has 2 ships in the territory, apart from the 3 vessels by the Coast Guard and BFAR. This is the country's largest presence in the territory to date.
It has been a directive of the Chief of Staff to increase our operational tempo here. And he has been lending us additional assets.
The National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea spotted 240 Chinese ships dispersed in the Philippines' territorial waters. Only 9 Chinese ships remain at the Julian Felipe Reef from last month's more than 200. But the Chinese vessels only transferred and scattered to other reefs and islands. Spanning 60 meters in length, these militia ships can illegally haul as much as 1 ton of fish every day.
They do not do fishing. If you have noticed in our previous reports, they are just bunched there and they are not still doing fishing.
The Foreign Affairs Department has lodged 2 diplomatic protests today. One is part of the vowed daily protest as long as Chinese ships are moored in the Julian Felipe Reef. The other is for the dispersal of Chinese vessels to other parts of the country's maritime zones. Former Justice Antonio Carpio also warned that China's success could spell the end of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS.
The nations of the world must unite to strongly push back China. Otherwise, UNCLOS will collapse. That will mean the demise of UNCLOS and the end of a rules-based maritime order. That will mean the beginning of a maritime order created and enforced by naval guns and the entrenchment of the might is right concept.
For News 5, Patricia Mangune, we are One News.
An analyst doubts views that China is a friend of the Philippines amid escalating tension in the West Philippine Sea. Speaking to One News' The Chiefs, International Studies Professor Renato de Castro said the Philippines should watch out as China may not leave the territory anytime soon. With this, de Castro suggests a unified government stance on China's activities in the West Philippine Sea.
When you have statements that this could be resolved among friends, is China a friend? Will you consider a country that's bent on depriving you 85% of your exclusive economic zone, have applied gray zone operations against you since 1996? Remember Mischief Reef, Scarborough Shoal, right? Then, of course, bent on ignoring international law. Will you?
De Castro added that the 2016 Hague ruling is no longer a scrap of paper, as the Philippines should start capitalizing on the tribunal's decision, as more countries are using the ruling to protect their territory. Professor Dindumanhit also suggests raising the issue before the United Nations.
The challenge to government beyond raising it through diplomatic protests. It's very bilateral. You keep on engaging China. And if you are playing with a bigger nation, why do it bilaterally? So bring it multilateral. That's why some views there are file it in the United Nations, make it a discussion. Before the 2016 ruling, China and the rest of the world would say, oh, this is disputed. But after that ruling, hindi na siya disputed.
Still on China, that is believed to be using a so-called cabbage strategy in sending out ships to the West Philippine Sea. That's according to One News's defense section editor, Manny Mugato. In an interview with 1PH sa Totoo Lang, Mugato emphasized the need to protect the West Philippine Sea because of its rich natural resources.
Parang cabbage na nasa una, fishing boat, saka binisa vessels, no? Pagkatapos niyan sa loob, nandun yung kanilang Coast Guard. At yung panghuli nila, yung kanilang Navy ship na may mga missile na at napakadalang, di mo alam kung saan galing. Ang sabi ng NTF, 4 na isla natin ang kanilang kinukubkob, ano? Nandiyan yung Pag-asa, Ayungin, Kota at Likas. May mga barko na kapaligid. Di ko alam kung anong gustong gawin sa atin yan.
In the same program, former Defense Secretary Orly Mercado insisted that the Philippines can still do something to protect our land from foreign invasion. He also reminds the public that part of the AFP's duty is to protect our maritime territory. Mercado also emphasized the importance of media during these times.
Dalawang choice natin, yung tinatawag na autonomous defense, yung tayo lang ang magtatanggol. O kaya may kasamang kaalyado. Huwag niyong busitin yung medyang nagpupunta riyan.
Tama.
Importante yan sa ating pakikipaglaban. Sapagkat yan ang paraan para malaman ng mundo na tayo binubuli.
In other news, please keep your elderly loved ones at home as the OCTA research group flags the COVID-19 fatality rate in Metro Manila, which is now 3 times higher compared to that in February. And most of those succumbing to the virus are senior citizens. Marian Enriquez with a story.
The pandemic became a family tragedy for 35-year-old Christina. All of 5 members of her household, including her mom, son, and cousin, tested positive for COVID on March 16. But it was Lola Roveva they were most concerned about. The senior citizen had a heart ailment. When she got infected, she had fever and found it difficult to breathe. She succumbed to the virus on the March 21st.
Kinaumagan, ayun na. Nagkakagulo na. Nung morning, mga before 10, walang tumatanggap sa amin na hospital.
Her Lola lends a face to the hundreds of Filipinos dying due to the virus the past few days. Most of them are senior citizens. Based on the report of UP OCTA research team, before and after March 28, case fatality rate among those aged 65 and above rose to more than 28% from just 11.8 previously. For those 60 to 64 years old, it's also 3 times higher to 16.4%. Overall, fatality rate jumped from 1.82 to 5.36%. UP OCTA research fellow Professor Guido David says the numbers are alarming.
We should give healthcare priority to seniors 60 and above because of the high mortality rate.
The country has had 15,000 deaths so far. As of April 13, more than 2,100 are from the 65 to 69 age group, followed by those aged 60 to 64, and the much older 70 to 74. This afternoon, 63-year-old Orlando Medina received his first dose of Sinovac vaccine.
Daming mga matatanda, kailangan namin magpabakuna kasi para makasiguro kami sa dami ng mga hawa-hawa ng COVID.
At the Ramon Magsaysay High School in España, some enthusiastic senior citizens fall in line as early as 5 a.m. to get inoculated.
First talaga kasi tinatanong sa kanila kung nagkaroon ba sila ng exposure o kaya na-COVID ba sila. Kasi pag gano'n, i-hold muna natin hanggang sa for 2 weeks hanggang sa totally naka-recover na po sila.
OCTA research urges seniors to strongly consider vaccination. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Hollywood takes us through a trip down memory lane as 90s sitcom Friends finish filming their reunion special. And Home Alone star Macaulay Culkin has returned to the spotlight after welcoming his firstborn. MJ Marfori tells us more.
And it's a wrap! 90s sitcom Friends has just finished filming its much-awaited reunion special. Friends, the reunion will feature the iconic 6 cast members. In a radio interview last March, David Schwimmer, or Ross, said they won't be in character for the reunion, but rather themselves. The special will stream on HBO Max soon.
Don't bother, darlings. I own the place. One deal. I got the candy counter girl to bring us some snacks.
House, I have to defend it.
Where's your mother?
My mom's in the car.
Continuing our trip to the 90s, Home Alone star Macaulay Culkin just had a baby. He just had a son with a Sweet Life star Brenda Song, who is number 33.
Kids are stupid.
Macaulay named their baby Dakota after his late sister, who died in a car accident in 2008. The couple started dating in 2017. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later at 10 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.